The evening sun cast a golden glow through the bedroom window as Emily stood in front of her mirror, smoothing down the folds of her shimmering blue prom dress. Her hands trembled slightly, not from nerves, but from the kind of excitement only a teenager feels on a night they've dreamed of for years. Her mother, standing just behind her, snapped pictures with teary eyes, proud and nostalgic all at once. The room buzzed with last-minute preparations. A curling iron hissed on the dresser, the faint smell of hairspray filled the air, and pop music played low in the background. Emily's phone vibrated with texts from friends. On the way. Can't wait to dance all night. You look amazing. She laughed softly, cheeks flushed, glancing at her reflection one more time. Her hair was curled just right, makeup done to perfection by a close friend earlier that day. It wasn't just a big night, it was the night. Her mom walked over, adjusting a strand of hair behind her ear and whispering, "You look like a princess." Emily smiled, wrapping her arms around her mother for a quick hug. "Thanks, Mom. I'll be home by midnight, promise." Her mom hesitated, then nodded. Outside, a sleek black car honked lightly, her date had arrived. Emily grabbed her clutch, waved goodbye, and bounded out the door, full of energy and anticipation. Her mom stood on the porch, waving back, her heart full but heavy with that subtle ache all parents feel as their children grow up and take steps into the world. She watched the car disappear down the street, the evening air warm and quiet. In that moment, there was no reason to think anything would go wrong. Prom was supposed to be magical. No one could have imagined it would be the last time she saw Emily walk through that door, for months. The night crept on, and the house remained quiet. Emily's mom sat on the living room couch, phone in hand, glancing at the time every few minutes. It was nearly midnight, nothing unusual, not yet. She assumed Emily was still dancing, lost in the joy of the night, maybe too caught up to check in. Still, she had promised. That promise now echoed in her thoughts, growing louder with every passing second. Midnight came and went. No message. No call. Her mom's fingers hovered over her phone, then tapped a quick text. "Hey sweetheart, just checking in. Everything okay?" No response. She waited, staring at the screen, willing the three dots to appear. Nothing. She called once. No answer. Twice. Straight to voicemail. Her heart began to stir with unease. By 1 a.m., the worry had settled deep into her bones. She called Emily's best friend, who answered groggily. "Didn't she leave with you?" Her mom asked, voice tight. "No, I thought she went with her date," came the confused reply. Panic hit like a wave. Her hands trembled as she dialed the boy Emily was supposed to go with. He hadn't seen her since the first half hour of prom. She said she was going to the bathroom and never came back, he explained, clearly rattled. That was all it took. Within the hour, Emily's mom was on the phone with the police, reporting her daughter missing. Officers arrived and took down details. Her dress, her hairstyle, the last time she was seen. A search began around the school, then the neighborhood. Flashlights cut through the darkness. Volunteers showed up with jackets pulled over pajamas. Dogs sniffed through nearby woods. The night that began with glitter and music was now heavy with dread. As dawn broke, casting a pale light across the town, Emily's mom stood by the front window, staring out at nothing, clutching the phone like it was a lifeline. She had a feeling deep in her chest, an ache that didn't go away with morning light. Something was very wrong, and Emily was gone. The sun rose slowly that morning, casting long shadows over the house that was once filled with laughter and teenage chatter. Now, it was eerily silent. Emily's room remained untouched from the night before, makeup scattered across the dresser, a pair of heels tucked neatly under her chair, the soft scent of her perfume still lingering in the air. Her mother sat at the kitchen table, eyes red from a sleepless night, hands wrapped tightly around a cold cup of coffee she hadn't touched. By mid-morning, police cruisers were parked outside. 2 detectives entered the home, notebooks in hand, their expressions calm but serious. They asked questions gently at first. When did you last see her? Did she mention any unusual behavior or problems at school? Emily's mom answered each one carefully, sometimes pausing to hold back tears. Her mind ran in circles, trying to recall anything that might have seemed off, anything at all. But there was nothing. Emily had been excited, normal, happy. The search officially intensified. Police reviewed security footage from the prom venue. They saw Emily arriving, smiling, laughing, and dancing. But then, at exactly 9:42 p.m., she was seen walking down a hallway toward the bathrooms, and after that, nothing. She never returned to the dance floor, and no other camera caught her leaving the building. It was as if she vanished into thin air. Detectives began interviewing her friends, classmates, teachers, even the chaperones. Some remembered her dress, others remembered her laughing in the crowd. A few admitted they noticed she seemed distracted for a moment, looking at her phone, then walking off. One friend swore she saw Emily talking to someone in a dark jacket near the exit, but the image was blurry at best in her memory. It was all fragments, pieces of a puzzle with no clear picture. Days passed. Posters went up around town with Emily's face smiling back, her photo from earlier that evening printed beside the word, "missing." News stations picked up the story. Candlelight vigils were held. Her school held assemblies and offered grief counseling. Rumors began to swirl, some innocent, others dark and cruel. Everyone had a theory, but no one had an answer. Her mother clung to hope, refusing to believe her daughter had simply disappeared without a trace. Each time the phone rang, her heart leapt, only to fall when it wasn't the voice she longed to hear. And every night, she returned to Emily's room, sat on the bed, and whispered into the silence, "I know you're out there. I will find you." The weeks slowly turned into months, each day blending into the next with a quiet, aching sameness. The buzz of search parties and media attention began to fade, leaving behind a silence that was almost more painful than the chaos. Emily's room remained exactly as she had left it, bed perfectly made, photos still pinned to the corkboard, her favorite hoodie hanging from the back of her chair. Her mother couldn't bring herself to change anything. To move even a single item felt like admitting she wasn't coming back. Friends and neighbors who once dropped off casseroles and offered tearful hugs started coming by less often. Life, as it tends to do, went on for everyone else. But not for Emily's mother. Her world had stopped the moment her daughter vanished. She no longer cared about small talk or errands. Work became impossible. Her days were consumed with scrolling through online forums, rereading news articles, revisiting every detail of that night. Somewhere, she believed, there was a clue, something the police missed, something she just hadn't seen yet. She developed habits that slowly took over her routine. Every few days, she would drive the route between their home and the school, eyes scanning sidewalks and alleyways like Emily might suddenly reappear. She visited the area around the venue, questioning store owners, searching security footage, looking for anyone who might remember something new. Most people had already forgotten. But she hadn't. She couldn't. Late at night, she often sat in the dark living room, a lamp casting a soft yellow glow beside her, holding Emily's old sweatshirt close to her chest. She would replay their last conversation in her mind over and over, her daughter's smile, her promise to come home by midnight, the sound of the car driving away. That final wave goodbye haunted her. The seasons changed. Summer heat gave way to falling leaves and cooler winds. Emily missed her senior year, her birthday, Thanksgiving. The holidays came and went like shadows, empty and cold. Her mother lit a candle at the table, leaving a seat for her that no one filled. Though the world tried to return to normal, Emily's mother lived in a loop of fear, hope, and grief. Every time she saw a girl with similar hair, every time the phone rang, her heart skipped. Sometimes, she thought she heard Emily's laugh in a crowd or caught a glimpse of her on a passing bus. But it was never her. Just echoes of what once was. And still, every night, before she went to sleep, she whispered the same promise into the dark, "I will never stop looking for you." Time became a strange, shapeless thing. Days no longer felt like days, they were just stretches of gray that began and ended with the same ache. Emily's absence was everywhere, in the silence at breakfast, in the untouched cereal boxes she once devoured, in the empty seat at the dinner table. Her mother moved through the house like a shadow, half alive, carrying out the basic rituals of living while her soul remained frozen in that one terrible night. The world outside didn't wait. The news stopped covering Emily's disappearance. The posters on telephone poles faded from the sun and rain, some torn down, others ignored. Even the police visits became less frequent. They still called with updates, but there was never anything new. "We're doing everything we can," they always said. But it never sounded true anymore. Her mother had begun to see the polite sympathy in their eyes slowly shift into quiet resignation. She refused to give in to that. She kept a large corkboard in the dining room, filled with maps, timelines, and printouts of every online theory she could find. String connected places Emily had visited, and red pins marked possible sightings that always turned up false. Her laptop was constantly open, the screen littered with tabs of missing persons databases, surveillance footage archives, and message boards. Sleep became optional, something she did in fits when exhaustion overwhelmed her. Sometimes she would visit Emily's school after hours, standing in the parking lot and watching the entrance as if her daughter might come walking out, backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes rolling at her mother's overprotectiveness. Other times she would drive aimlessly, searching laundromats, convenience stores, parks, anywhere someone might end up if they didn't want to be found. But the truth was more terrifying. What if Emily wasn't choosing to hide? What if she couldn't come home? The guilt came in waves. Had she missed a sign? Was there something Emily tried to say and she didn't listen? Every memory was now laced with doubt. That morning hug, the way Emily hesitated before getting in the car, were they just ordinary moments or silent cries for help? Her mother would sit on Emily's bed late into the night, looking at her daughter's photos, whispering apologies, pleading with the universe for a second chance. Her relationship with others changed too. Friends didn't know what to say anymore. Some avoided her entirely. Others tried to comfort her with phrases like, "You have to let go," or, "Maybe it's time to move on." But they didn't understand. Emily wasn't a chapter to close. She was her heart, walking out there somewhere, scared, hurt, or worse, and no matter how much time passed, no mother could forget that. 9 months had gone by. Her calendar had stopped being about days and dates, it was a countdown of absence. Still, each morning, she woke up and looked at Emily's photo, placed her fingers on it, and said the same words aloud, "Today might be the day." Because if she let that hope die, even for a second, she feared she might disappear too. It was a gray afternoon, the kind where the sky hung low and the air carried the weight of distant rain. Emily's mother had gone out for errands she didn't really need to run, wandering aimlessly had become a habit. It gave her a reason to leave the house, to breathe, to escape the walls that had become a prison of memories. She drove down streets she rarely visited anymore, past old stores, half-closed shops, places she and Emily used to go when things were normal. If she allowed herself to remember too long, the ache would overwhelm her. So instead, she just kept driving. Then, almost on impulse, she turned down a side street and pulled into a run-down laundromat she hadn't seen in years. It wasn't the kind of place she would normally stop, but something drew her to it. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was desperation. The flickering neon sign buzzed above the door, casting a faint pink glow against the glass. She paused for a moment in the car, staring at it. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the door handle. She wasn't sure why, but her chest felt tight, her breath shallow, as if something was waiting on the other side. She stepped inside. The familiar hum of machines greeted her, mixed with the soft clink of zippers tumbling in dryers and the sharp scent of detergent. The place was nearly empty, just a few people, lost in their own routines. A man folding shirts near the back. A woman sitting by the window reading a paperback. And then, her eyes landed on a figure in the far corner. It was a girl, small and thin, sitting quietly by an old dryer, folding clothes with mechanical slowness. Her hair was darker, and her clothes hung loosely on her frame, but something about the shape of her face, the curve of her shoulders, it made the breath catch in her mother's throat. She stepped closer, heart pounding, feet unsteady. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. The girl looked up. Their eyes met. Time stopped. "Emily." Her mother gasped, a sound so raw and full of disbelief it startled the man nearby. She stepped forward, tears already filling her eyes, her voice caught somewhere between a scream and a whisper. "Emily," she said, barely able to get the name out. The girl froze. Her hands stopped moving. For a moment, neither spoke. Then slowly, uncertainly, Emily stood. Her face was thinner, paler. Her eyes looked older, burdened. But it was her. There was no mistake. The moment stretched, surreal and fragile, like a dream balanced on the edge of waking. Emily's lips trembled, and a single word escaped her mouth, "Mom." Her voice cracked, rusty from disuse or something far worse. Her mother ran forward, arms wrapping around her daughter in a trembling embrace that was 9 months overdue. Neither spoke for several seconds. The air around them seemed to vanish. It was just them, mother and daughter, connected again by something stronger than time, fear, or suffering. Emily began to cry, her shoulders shaking violently, as if the pain of the months she had endured was finally allowed to surface. Her mother held her tighter, refusing to let go, silently vowing that nothing would ever take her away again. Emily's body trembled in her mother's arms, her thin frame barely holding up as the weight of 9 months apart collapsed into that single embrace. Her mother didn't let go, not right away, not even as the laundromat's quiet hum carried on around them. To everyone else, it was just another strange moment in a day filled with chores and noise. But to them, it was the world cracking open. Slowly, Emily's mother loosened her grip enough to pull back and look at her daughter's face. There were bruises, not fresh, but faded marks near her wrist and beneath her jaw. Her skin was pale, her lips dry and cracked. She looked exhausted, older somehow. Worn down. "What happened to you?" her mother whispered, her voice quivering as she tucked a strand of hair behind Emily's ear. "Where have you been?" Emily blinked hard, as if she had to remind herself that this wasn't a dream. She tried to speak but couldn't at first, only a small rasp escaped. Her mother quickly glanced around, then led her to one of the plastic chairs by the wall. They sat down together, knees touching, hands clasped tightly. Emily's fingers twitched in her mother's grasp, but she didn't pull away. "I didn't run away," Emily finally said, her voice small and hoarse. "I swear, I didn't want to go. He told me, he said if I screamed, he'd hurt you. He said no one would believe me." Her eyes darted toward the windows, as if the man might still be out there, watching. Her mother's heart shattered. She wanted to stop her, to say she didn't need to talk right now, that she was safe and that was enough. But something in Emily's eyes said she needed to speak. To finally let it out. "He was at prom. Not a student. I didn't even see him until I went to the back hallway. He said he was security, but I didn't recognize him. I thought maybe he was new. Then everything got blurry. He grabbed me. I couldn't fight him. He put something over my face. After that, I woke up in a basement." Emily's mother covered her mouth, tears rolling down her cheeks silently as Emily kept going. "He moved me. More than once. Sometimes I saw other people. I think he knew how to hide, like he'd done it before. He took my phone. He cut my hair, changed my clothes, said if I ever ran, he'd kill me. Or kill you." She paused, wiping her nose with her sleeve, her eyes vacant. "I don't even know how I got out. He left me alone for longer than usual. I ran. Just ran. Ended up here. Thought I could wash some clothes, figure out what to do next." Her mother shook her head slowly, unable to comprehend the nightmare her daughter had endured. She reached forward, cupped Emily's face, and said, "You did the right thing. You survived. That's all that matters now." They sat together for a long time, the hum of the dryers around them now oddly comforting. Strangers glanced their way but gave them space. The air felt different, thick with emotion but also lighter, somehow, as if a shadow had lifted. Emily had been lost. But now, here she was. Alive. Found. And for the first time in months, her mother allowed herself to believe that healing could begin. The ride to the hospital was quiet, but not in a way that felt empty. It was a silence wrapped in shock, in fragile peace, in the gravity of a miracle unfolding slowly with each mile. Emily sat in the passenger seat of her mother's car, staring out the window, her eyes tracing the motion of trees and traffic lights like someone rediscovering the world. Her mother kept glancing over at her, needing to check that she was still there, still real, still breathing beside her. After so many nights of imagining this moment, of both dreading and praying for it, she was afraid to speak too loudly, in case it all vanished like a dream. At the hospital, nurses and doctors moved quickly, their expressions shifting from professional calm to barely concealed alarm as they examined Emily. She was underweight, dehydrated, and clearly traumatized. There were old scars, healing bruises, and telltale signs of restraint on her wrists and ankles. Her mother had to stand back at times, hands clenched tightly together, watching her daughter recount the barest details to medical staff. What she ate, where she slept, how long she'd been without proper clothing or care. Every answer stung like a blade to her heart, but she stayed strong, for Emily. A social worker arrived, followed by detectives. They asked careful questions, respectful but persistent. Emily answered what she could. She described the man, his voice, the tattoo on his hand, the way he smelled like oil and cigarettes. She mentioned locked doors, a concrete basement, a curtain instead of a door for a bathroom. There were gaps in her memory, moments too painful or too foggy to recall clearly, but what she could say, she did. Her mother sat beside her the entire time, gripping her hand, never letting go. Later, after the questions slowed and doctors had finished their initial exams, they were left alone in a quiet room. Emily sat upright in a hospital bed, wearing clean clothes, her hair freshly washed, the grime of captivity finally rinsed away. Her mother sat beside her, elbows on the bed, eyes fixed on her daughter as though memorizing every feature all over again. Emily turned toward her and asked quietly, "Did you think I was gone forever?" Her mother hesitated, her voice catching before she replied, "No. I couldn't let myself believe that. Every day, I told myself you were still out there. That somehow, I'd find you." Emily looked down at her hands. "There were times I didn't think I'd ever leave. Times I thought, maybe he was right. That no one would find me." Her mother gently tilted her chin up. "But you did. You found your way back. And now, we're going to fight like hell to make sure he never hurts anyone again." Emily nodded slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I just want to feel normal again." Her mother wrapped her arms around her, holding her close, whispering, "You will. One day at a time. We'll heal together." For the first time in 9 long months, there was something new in the air, something they hadn't felt in so long it had almost been forgotten. Hope. The days that followed were both overwhelming and sacred, a delicate mixture of healing, pain, and rediscovery. Emily was officially declared found by the authorities, and the news spread like wildfire. Television reporters set up outside the hospital, news vans lined the street, and headlines splashed her photo across every major outlet. Missing teen found alive after 9 months, miracle reunion, survivor returns. But for Emily and her mother, the outside world didn't matter. Not yet. Their world had narrowed to the quiet of hospital halls, the warmth of familiar voices, and the slow, tentative rebuilding of something that had been nearly destroyed. Emily's body was fragile. She needed rest, nutrition, and physical therapy. But it was her spirit that had taken the deepest blows. Trauma lived beneath her skin, in the twitch of her hand when a door closed too loudly, in the way she scanned rooms without realizing, always searching for exits, always calculating risk. Nurses were kind, but she flinched when they touched her unexpectedly. Her mother was the only one who could calm her, the only voice Emily trusted fully now. They spent hours together, talking quietly, or sitting in silence, holding hands. Emily slowly opened up, not always with words, but through gestures, memories, glances that said what she couldn't yet explain. She told her mother about songs she used to hum in the dark to keep herself from crying, about the marks she carved in the wall to count the days, about the way she whispered her mother's name every night, just to remember what love sounded like. Her mother listened to every word as if it were sacred scripture, her tears soft and constant, never interrupting, never rushing her. On the 5th day, Emily asked to go home. Doctors hesitated. The trauma counselor gently suggested a care facility, somewhere peaceful, quiet, with staff trained to help her heal. But Emily shook her head. "I need to go home," she said. "I need to sleep in my bed. I need to remember what safe feels like." Her mother promised to follow every instruction, to turn their house into a sanctuary. The doctors eventually agreed. Coming home was its own kind of shock. Emily stood in the doorway for a long time, staring into the familiar, into the untouched. Her room was exactly as she left it, like a time capsule, waiting. She stepped inside slowly, fingers trailing across her desk, her bookshelf, her favorite hoodie draped over her chair. Then she sat on her bed, curling into the blankets, letting out a long, trembling breath. Her mother stood in the doorway, unsure whether to speak or stay quiet. Emily looked up and said softly, "Thank you for not changing anything." That night, they made dinner together, just something simple. Emily chopped vegetables while her mother stirred soup, glancing at her with a kind of quiet reverence. It was the first meal they'd cooked together in nearly a year, and though it wasn't perfect, it was warm and shared, and that was enough. Later, they lit candles and played a movie on low volume, not really watching, just needing something familiar in the background as they sat wrapped in a blanket on the couch. In the weeks that followed, Emily began therapy. She wrote in journals. She took walks. She had nightmares and flashbacks, and some days were harder than others. But slowly, her laughter began to return, shy at first, then fuller. There were moments of joy, slivers of peace. Her mother watched it all unfold with cautious gratitude, knowing the road ahead would be long, but no longer hopeless. Emily had been stolen, but not lost forever. She had come home. And they would heal, not just as survivors, but together, mother and daughter, side by side, ready to reclaim every stolen moment.